Hey guys, Tyrant back again with another video, and today we're going to be discussing something that's personally a subject that is quite close to my heart, with me experiencing it firsthand and also indirectly, and I'm talking about addiction. Specifically in this video, I'm going to talk about weed addiction, and my opinion on it, what I've read on it. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there, not only misinformation, um, but people like this fool here, Senor Onision. If weed isn't addictive, quit it forever. If you fail this challenge, you're admitting it is addictive. Checkmate. Um, so in my life, I've smoked weed for a fair amount of time. I would say I started when I was about 18, maybe around about that age, 17, 18, like smoking it regularly. Um, and I've had periods where I've stopped for years and years, and then I've started smoking it again. Not through any sort of primal need. I have to smoke this. My brain is telling me I'm addicted. Um, Nothing like that, just because I like smoking fucking weed. And not only that, it helps with my anxiety. Not all of it, because, we will discuss this, like, different strains and all that jazz. Apologies for the poor visuals for this video. I really wanted to go outside and talk about this, but really, the wind the last few days has just been just that tad strong, and it's just making, like, any kind of audio just unhearable. And at the minute, with the basic setup I have, this is the best I can do. So I apologise, guys. We'll make it mildly interesting, I suppose. We'll waste a star piece with it being the last few days of this star piece event. So yeah. Anyway, digression. So there's been a lot of stigma around cannabis use. And I think over the years, through widespread criminalising of addicts and alienating drug users and demonising and putting people down, it's created a society where even if you are smoking weed to help you for a problem, you are still looked upon as a, a form of an addict because you're using a substance. But what people don't see, and this is kind of like the hypocrisy at work here, for all those people that drink a cup of tea with caffeine in, or drink a cup of coffee with caffeine in, or eat anything with sugar in, y'all are all addicts too. So check your privilege at the fucking door before you come in and start talking to my ass about who's addicted to fucking what. Um, and yeah, at some point, I may remove the bad language, but if not, then deal with it. So yeah, this misconception and this demonizing, and this whole sort of like the negative side of what cannabis users experience. Oh, sweet, a Cinestone. Um, I think is, I mean, okay, we're gonna go. Oh God, another latte ass. No, I don't even want you. I don't even want you. You piece of crap. I've had about 6 of these in a row, pretty much, and not one of them has been shiny. So I wouldn't mind a shiny one. So I kind of appreciate that I've had 5 in a row, I suppose. Damn it. All right, fine, whatever. It's a latte. Um, where was I? Digressions like goddamn, just a so the fact that people have been stigmatized and demonized, it stops them from wanting to sort of seek help. It stops people from wanting to even, you know, talk about certain things. And when you're taking something that could be really used as a medicine and making people feel like shit for using it, then I think the problem's on you and not really the person, because that's your worldview, that's your way of looking at things, and just having a slightly more open mind about things like, holy shit, I might be addicted to sugar or caffeine or any of the other legal things like tobacco and alcohol that the government quite happily will sell you. And by the way, tobacco and alcohol, if you look at the number one killers of people in the world, that's drugs. It is those two drugs combined, alcohol and tobacco. Um, Another big one at the minute is fentanyl, because fentanyl's being put into a lot of things like heroin and certain like tablets and things, um, benzos, and people are dying. And this this is going to sound really stupid, but I was watching a Pokemon rap the other day, um, and there's a line in it, and it basically goes, alienating drug users makes things worse. Don't lock up someone if they take a Hitmonchan, and criminalising addicts is a really bad plan. Big Pharma is the root of our country's problems with opiate addiction. Sorry for my... it should have rhymed, but I read it a little bit crap. But that actually, like, in a Pokemon rap that I suppose not just children would be watching, because like, I mean, I was a fan of Pokemon when I was a kid, and that, you know, it kind of drew me to it. Search it out. It's Pokemon Rap. I think it came out at E3 or something like that. It's a kid with glasses, dressed in a suit, does like a three sort of beat rap to it, and then like changes it into like an educational rap, and it is so good. It is really really funny. But it hit the nail on the head, I think, with that one little piece where, um, I think this is where I digressed earlier on, but I was basically going to get into Big Pharma, but I don't want it to be like a, oh, conspiracy, blah, 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 blah. This is just what I think. And I know a lot of other people think in a similar kind of way, and that's absolutely fine. You know, if you don't agree with me, then that's you're right. You know, everybody has a right to their own opinion. Um, and this one is mine, and I honestly think that Big Pharma, they don't want you. They don't want you to be not using their products. They make so much money off of the fact that they can drip feed us certain drugs. They can drip feed us, um, you know, medicines that will make us better, but only maybe a little bit better, slowly. Cancer research and things like that. And I'm not saying that things are being slowed down. I honestly believe there are things that have been, say like, not a miracle cure, but something that is better than what they already have. And they will buy that patent or whatever, and once it's been bought up, they'll bury it. And there's a few companies that kind of do similar things like that, which is, like, I would imagine, like, automobile companies don't want there to be cars going around with algae in that can power them. But I watched a thing a few years ago with like algae panels that could potentially power electric cars, which was fucking awesome. Like that was like really really cool. But once these things come out, they kind of disappear because companies don't want you to be able to have things like that. And this is where I think the problem with, like, especially with drug addiction as a whole, not just with cannabis, but the cannabis side. So I've been looking into, rather than just being an Onision, where I give my verbal diarrhea opinion and don't back it up with any sort of like facts or any kind of reading at all. I have done some reading on addiction. I would quite easily, you know, if I had the ability, I would put in a lot of like the papers that I've read and things like that. If I can find links to them or whatever, then I will. And I'll put them in the description down below. But if not, you're just gonna have to, unfortunately, take my word or do a little bit of reading for yourself. But the two sides of the coin are one side. Oh no, get back! Sorry, I totally forgot to change my WhatsApp settings. It brings up a thing across there, and you'll be able to read all my messages. 1 second, 1 second. Let me pause this, and I'll sort that out and get back to you. And I'm back. Sorry about that. And yeah, so one side of it is there is a weed addiction. Now, from what I've read into it and what I've seen, it's talking about addictive personalities, it's talking about addictive genes, and it's talking about environmental pressures, and not only all of those factors, but also the fact that weed has gone up in strength over the years, which is definitely true. One of the studies I read, it was absolutely ridiculous. It said it had gone up from like, I don't know, something like 12% like 20 years ago to something ridiculous like 80% THC now. I have no idea if there even is a strain with 80% THC. I'd need to look into this a little bit more myself, but I thought maybe like 20 plus, maybe 30 at the most, because it's kind of like a psychoactive ingredient, and anybody smoking 80% THC probably would, I would imagine, have a very good time, but also be majorly fucked. Um, Not long term, because this is another thing I was reading about, is rewiring brain chemistry. So prolonged use of anything will increase your dopamine receptor boundaries, so you and any other sort of chemicals being released in your brain whilst you are using said drug, the receptor sort of level, so say they kick out at, normally your body would kick out, no, come back, showing off my hundreds here, damn it. Normally your body would say kick out at 10 level, at 10 dopamine comes out, and this would be maybe experiencing a fast ride or something pleasurable in your life. But if you experience that too much, the dopamine it gets pushed up, it gets set to a higher barrier, so it will go to like say 20 or 40 or 50. So this is what you're doing to your brain when you take drugs on a long-term basis, which also happens with medication. So it's not like it's just a thing that is restricted to particularly illicit drugs, because this is another thing you have to understand, is like it is for all drugs, even things like caffeine and even things like sugar. Your barriers will get pushed, and you will need more to enjoy and get the same experience from it. There's no question in that. I understand that. I totally believe that. Tolerance is what it is. You have to take a tolerance break, especially if taking very strong drugs for a long period of time. Weed is one of these where, because it's used as medicine, uh, hello, oh, there we go. Because it's used as a medicine as well as an illicit drug, and because it's not, I won't say policed, but because it's not you actually, controlled in a way that we know what's in there, we know what to expect, we know what the strain is, because I could go and buy from my dealer, let's say he's selling some crazy fucking strain like Skills or some shiz like that. How do I know that is what it is? How do I know that the phenotype it's come from is going to have the exact amount of THC and the exact amount of CBD in there that I want? Because the CBD is the stuff that helps. There's like over 100 active ingredients in cannabis, and a lot of them do a lot of different things. Some of them make you trip balls, so you can actually get, some weed that I am led to believe will make you have a mild trip. I've yet to experience any of that myself. I've had some heavy visuals, had some really nice lucid dreams and things like that whilst I've been high. That's been kind of cool. So sorry about the starting and stopping here. I'm doing other things whilst I'm recording this. Um, so the fact that it's not controlled and the fact that such high THC levels are being produced by people that are growing in their homes, but not only that, there are a lot of countries now that have decriminalised it and that have just legalised it outright. Portugal is one of them, I believe, where it's just like they've just decriminalised all drugs. They've just gone, do you know what, guys? Yeah, you might be addicted to drugs, but we're gonna help you here. Rather than arrest you and put you in prison, which helps precisely no one, I imagine. Again, experiencing that side of things in my life, I can talk about it. There is no rehabilitation. There is very little help that you do get. You do get some help. I can't say that, but it is a very, very small amount. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about drugs. So the kind of the bad side of it is very much that it's the pharmaceutical side, it's the people that are invested, the doctors that are invested in these drugs, and that they're not willing to sort of look and see that it can be a good thing, it is a good thing, it is being used in a good way. It's just, it's also still illicit, it's also still illegal, it's ridiculous. In America, the state law says you're fine. The federales, the actual, the main federal laws, they still class it as illegal. So they have like a constant battle over there where it's places being shut down, people being put out of, jobs and things because of the levels of law and the way it works. I may be wrong on that for federal and state levels, don't crucify me if I am. I just know there are two levels, and one of them is fine, and one of them is not. So, in England, we don't have any kind of. I think we maybe just started medical, not marijuana, but like say like a CBD sprays. I see those all over the place. I don't think it's anything that maybe you could get on prescription. I have no idea. That is something else I would like to look into. But I know you can buy it over the counter. So as far as prescriptions go, that would only be saving you, well, if it was £9 a prescription in England. And the cheapest I've seen these CBD throat sprays, mouth spray things, is £25 upwards. So, you would be saving some money, and I would imagine it would have a different, maybe, if it's just CBD, there isn't going to be any difference, but they may include other beneficial active ingredients from the plant. This is something I am going to look into, and I will do another video on the subject. I was kind of, so that the post that I started off with the picture, that was from yesterday, the 19th, and it wasn't like I was triggered. I just sort of looked at it and laughed and thought, holy shit, like, there's still so much ignorance out there. There's still so much sort of demonization and criminalization associated with just a plant that can help. It would be like saying that broccoli, gets you whatever. So now broccoli is, illegal. And like, how stupid would that be? I know it's taken to the extreme, but you know what I mean? It's just a plant. If someone found out that like the fucking dust off broccoli could like, fucking make you trip your balls off, Sorry, some of my names, some of my names you may find a little offensive in my Pokemon. Um, yeah, how ridiculous would that be? How ridiculous would it be to just be like, nope, no more broccoli. Sorry, guy. What, you're a vegetarian? You like your broccoli? No. It's just, I know it's a different thing and it's an extreme and it's just silly, but that's how it feels to me. And I know a lot of people that smoke, and they have jobs, they have families, they run productive lives, and they smoke because they don't like drinking alcohol because of what alcohol does. But not only that, like we're not young anymore. Well, maybe not you guys. Definitely, some of you guys maybe still be young, but I'm not. I'm like nearly 36. And I still like to go out and fucking tear shit up. But at the same time, you've got to know that like your body's getting older. You can't quite take as much as you used to be able to. And for a lot of my friends, it's not important to them anymore. They have families. They have other things that they want to do, the other things they want to pursue. And this was another side of the addictive side of weed, where it's, oh, if you have a family and you have things in your life that are fulfilling, you don't want to smoke cannabis. You won't become addicted to cannabis. And that is absolute bullshit. Um, the So I spent a little bit of my life doing a lot harder drugs than cannabis. Um, and I still functioned, to a point. I did go off the rails for a little bit, but I still had a job, I still functioned, I still went out and partied every weekend, taking ecstasy, snorting cocaine, you know, doing all those kind of good things that you might want to do when you're in your younger years. Um, and to the extreme, I'm not talking about just a little bit of drugs, I'm talking about like everyday drugs. So I understand now probably why my head is so fucked because of the amount of things that I have done to myself. But at the time, there were certain things that I noticed that my brain chemistry had rewired. I was seeing a constant pattern on everything, on just in real life, on the floors, on like any surface, because I'd done a lot of hallucinogenics. And not only that, a lot of hallucinogenics with ecstasy. So I know myself that if you fuck with things, you will get fucked and you will get fucked up. But it hasn't given me, other than I suppose maybe my anxiety and some depression. I don't have any of these ridiculous sort of like it gives you schizophrenia or anything like that. There's all that's bullshit. Like I've fucked my head up with many drugs. Um, I still smoke weed, but now I use it more as a medicinal thing rather than before where I would be using it just to be getting high because that's what I enjoyed doing. There was a period of time where I had got so used to smoking it that smoking it in the morning before I went to work, smoking it on a lunch break, smoking it on an evening when I got home, it didn't do anything. It just made me feel normal, and I didn't feel bad when I wasn't smoking it, but I knew that I, you know, that it was something that was just part of my daily routine. I just did it, but it didn't do anything. And at the time, I didn't even think, take a break. Like this is tolerance. This is too much. But that's youthful, ignorance for you. And the fact that I, I believed I was bigger and better than the drugs I was taking, and that was totally wrong. Totally wrong. you've got to you've got to show some respect to the things you're using. And me personally, when I was younger, I used to do I'd say research. I used to read quite a lot about certain things. So like whatever drug I was particularly interested in or was maybe going to try, and I would read up on it. I'd find out like the pros and the cons. I'd look into what to do if it was something I could overdose on. Um, signs for certain other things. Um, and I thought it was a little bit clever, but the reality of the situation was I was just informing myself as much as I could before I decided to take a leap of faith into the unknown, not trying drugs ever for the first time, or trying drugs ever for the first time, should I say. I wanted it to be a thing that was something that I wasn't just like jumping in both feet, eyes closed, off we go, um, because that's kind of not the person I am. But I know a lot of people do that, and I think, again, coming back to the stigmatization and the demonizing and things like that, if more information and good information was available to people and helped people to make informed choices about drugs, why would that be a bad thing? Yes, all right, people that do certain drugs act in certain ways. I have friends that are heroin addicts and crack addicts, unfortunately, um, and I see them go from being, coming out of prison, not being on drugs anymore, and being like almost a real person in what I would call a real person. They're back to being themselves, um, and then you'll maybe see them a couple of months down the line. Um, Sorry, I'm smoking at the same time. Um, and they will have slipped and fallen because they've been put into a sheltered accommodation where there are other drug users, or where there are people that maybe not using but are susceptible when together to, you know, sort of like bounce off each other and be like, oh yeah, well, what if we maybe got some of this, and starts at that and get a few beers and then something, and it just there's very little support for people who should have the support, and the system fails a lot of people. Not that everybody wants to be saved, and I'm not going to say this like, oh, everybody. It's not the same thing. Not everybody wants to get off drugs. There are some people that are quite happy to take drugs, and that's what they want to do. I have no problem with that. The problem I have is with the people that don't take the drugs, that want to put these poor fuckers in a box and go, that's what you are, because that's wrong. And the hypocrisy of everybody, pretty much, unless you're really, really informed and a doctor and willing to, be open to all sides of the argument and actually be able to sort of, look at the positives and the negatives, because you can't just look at it from one side. That's not the way we should be doing things. We should at least try and be open and see things from every point of view in certain situations. Of course, I'm not talking about things like rape and murder and genocide or anything like that, because I mean, yeah, empathize if you want, but you're probably just going to end up fucked if you do that. But you don't know what a drug user's gone through. You don't know whether they were fucking abused as a child and now they use drugs to cover it and they can't, they need help but they're too scared to talk about. There's so many things, so many things. And I think I'm ranting for nearly half an hour. Okay, we're gonna cap this one short. So yeah, I mean, I know I've sort of like gone off on a rant and a tangent and this and that and all the other. I will do another video. I will make my points a little bit more concise and informative, and probably, when I have the chance to, I'll make it when I've have the ability to edit and actually put in some of the some of the stuff I've read, um, and I just talk maybe probably about the same sort of stuff again, but as this is just a rant, I may script the next one slightly better. I just wrote down some points on a piece of paper and was like, go, talk. So yeah, if you're still listening, well done you. You've got through the fucking, look, my Ray Jr. requires a, I was so happy. It's the highest one I've got. Anyway, yeah, if you've got through to this far, thank you very much for sticking with me. Yeah, it means a lot, I suppose. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, if that's what you want to do. If not, don't feel bad about it. Have a good day. Love y'all. See you in the next one.